Am I the asshole for not letting my mom stay in my house after she flew 4 hours to see me? I, 21F, and my mother, 54F, have a very strained relationship. I grew up being Mormon in the South and she let my dad abuse my siblings and I ended up moving out when I was 14 to live with my grandmother and I went no contact with my mom. When I went to college, I went very far west and drove about 30 hours to get to said college. Around that time my mom started to contact me. I did stay in contact with her because as I got older I realized that she too was hurt by my dad, but she was still with him. I continued to be wary and never actually visited because I had my own life. When I got married, I didn't invite my mom, only a few of my brothers. She didn't seem to mind that much and so I let her more into my life. My husband, 22M, and I are having a baby soon. I ended up telling my mom this over the phone and she congratulated me. A few weeks went by and she was obsessed with the idea of me being a mom. It was weird, she kept bringing up my old religion and how this was going to connect us. A few weeks ago my mom texted me to pick her up from the airport and then she called me in a rage when I told her no. She asked me where she expects her to stay and I said not my place because I didn't invite her and didn't want her there. I'm not sure where she stayed. Not long after I start getting texts from my sisters who are bashing me for building up a relationship with my mom only to manipulate her. I feel bad because maybe it did seem like I wanted her around but that was never my intention. I just wanted to be at peace in our relationship, I didn't care if it was still not the greatest. So am I the asshole for not wanting her around? Too long did not read. I had a strained relationship with my mom, until I went off to college far away. We got a little closer just over text and calls. Then I told her I was pregnant and she flew up to me, unannounced and I told her I didn't want her there. Now I'm getting texts from my siblings about how heartbroken she is and how I manipulated her. I've been restless about it and wondering if that's what it seemed like because that's not what I wanted to happen between us. She just showed up at the airport? Not the asshole. She can absolutely just show up if she organizes transport and accommodation and then ask to see you, at which point it's your call. But even with family it would be unusual to fly in and expect someone to come get you and give you a bed without notice. Not the asshole who the hell just shows up at someone's house when they are about to have a baby, and expect to be accommodated. That is really weird. I think this will be a good lesson for your sisters. Your boundaries are firm and they don't budge due to manipulation or social pressure. Make sure they know you neither invited your mom nor knew about her trip. Showing up unannounced because we're family is not an excuse. Also that you are not interested in coming back to their religion. If they whine after that consider blocking them. And good luck with your baby. Not the asshole. She tried to blindside you by turning up unannounced and uninvited. This is all on her. It wasn't you trying to manipulate anyone, so ignore any of that kind of accusation, and well done on having a shiny spine and not allowing her to push you around. I suggest you think about reducing the contact you have with the, sounds like she'd probably try something similar again, and will keep up with the God stuff too. Congratulations on your new baby, go and enjoy your life with your growing family. Not the asshole, it's entirely up to you whom you want to be around. If you don't like your mom being around it's okay. I think she shouldn't have come unannounced. Maybe she thought that between her and you, things are getting normal, that's why she suddenly showed up at the airport. Tell her your situation and mindset that you want to be with your own family. I hope she understands that. Not the asshole. When you invite yourself, only a fool expects hospitality. She is hoping to push all of your old buttons and bring you back under her thumb. Don't do it, you deserve better. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my parents in public over an allergy? I, 19F, have been allergic to dairy since I was a baby. My doctor and parents had a whole schedule for the first half of my life to get me acclimated to dairy. It went from me throwing up every night as a baby to the point where I could eat a pretty unrestricted diet and have no real symptoms other than stomach pain when I was in middle school. This sounds kind of stupid lol, but it took me until a couple of months ago to realize that the stomach pain is actually a symptom and not a thing I just need to deal with. I was on a school trip and asked if I could have the dairy-free meals, because I knew my stomach would feel icky from motion sickness and traveling. And I actually ended up feeling great, so ever since coming back to university I've basically gone dairy-free and my digestion has been great. However, because I now have lost all my tolerance for dairy, even very little makes me nearly as sick as when I was a really young child. I've told my parents this and they basically said, do whatever you want at school, but we didn't spend nearly 2 decades getting you used to dairy just to cut it out now, that's a lot of time wasted. I had to go home recently for a family event that my parents hosted and we had a big family meal with a lot of extended relatives where nearly everything had dairy. I tried scraping sauce and cheese off of stuff but I ingested some anyway, clearly because I felt gross and spent a lot of time in the bathroom. At one point my mother got annoyed at me for leaving the table so much, I was leaving a lot, and said kind of angrily, "Why are you being so rude at this event?" This annoyed me because I didn't feel I was being rude, I was sick, so I said to her, "Why don't you take my allergy seriously? You're the reason I've been eating stuff that makes me sick for all my life." The issue is that I think that was kind of harsh of me. My parents do believe I have an allergy, they just also believe they cured it with the diet plan my doctor had me on. And they've told me that they only pursued it because my doctor said it could increase my quality of life to not have an allergy, which, to be fair, when I was on this plan I was able to digest more without getting sick. My stomach just hurt a lot. I feel like I may have been unnecessarily rude in how I reacted to my mother, and I'm also worried I drew attention to myself that wasn't needed. A lot of my relatives were asking if I was okay after dinner, which was kind of them but really not the focus of the event. Edit. I appreciate everybody telling me I'm lactose intolerant. I am not. I have been to several doctors throughout my life and gotten actual allergy tests. I am allergic to the dairy protein. If the symptoms of shared sound like lactose intolerance, that's very interesting and good to know, but the one thing I am certain about is the diagnoses I have received. Not the asshole, my sister wasn't diagnosed with a dairy allergy, protein not lactose, until she was in college. Growing up she got stomach aches from eating ice cream. In college she ended up in the hospital where she found out that she is allergic to dairy and gluten. Since cutting them out of her diet she's felt better. The gluten allergy isn't severe but too much, or several days of exposure, and it affects her gut. Not the asshole, they tried to cure your allergy, but it didn't really work. You were still in a lot of physical distress. Maybe their efforts improved your quality of life compared to what it would have been had you followed a normal diet, but your quality of life has been most improved by eliminating dairy from your diet altogether. Besides, if it only took 3 months to eliminate all their efforts, you weren't cured. You were barely managing the condition. They don't seem to get that. Not the asshole. You're not supposed to be in pain every time you eat. That sounds like the torture and they should have stopped the diet a long time ago, maybe consult a decent doctor. Not the asshole. It's your body and your diet. Stomach pain is a valid symptom and if you're feeling the benefits of avoiding it, then that's a positive. Your parents are maybe just aggrieved at what they see as being a waste of time now, but their efforts likely gave you a lot more freedom in your childhood. It doesn't mean you owe it to them to continue suffering in silence though. Not the asshole. Sounds like you did the milk ladder. My daughter is lactose intolerant. But there are dairy products that she can tolerate and many that she can't. By doing the milk ladder we found out what triggered her and we avoid them. Not the asshole. Have you told your parents how much eating a dairy-inclusive diet causes you pain and discomfort, even at the peak of their efforts to acclimate you to dairy? They may be assuming that your dairy tolerance didn't have any negative impacts, especially if you got used to downplaying the pain you were in. It might be worth another attempt to sit them down and explain to them how the dairy diet they insisted on gave you constant stomach pains until you finally cut out dairy completely. You deserve to be able to share a meal with your family without feeling sick after, but if your parents won't accommodate this, you may have to put your foot down and start bringing your own food to family events or coordinating with other family members to make sure there are dishes you can eat. Am I the asshole for refusing to go on an expensive trip with my partner? Am I the asshole? I, M43, had an argument with my partner, F32, about a trip to her home country. We both live abroad, work full-time, and contribute to shared expenses, but I earn more and cover almost all our bills. I also pay for all our travel, usually alternating between visiting her home country and mine each year, and am the only one saving for the future. She spends about a quarter of her salary on shared expenses, with the rest going to herself and her family. Travel is expensive, and after bills and savings, it takes up all my disposable income. This year, my dad is turning 90, and I'm planning something special for him, which means traveling to my country. It's a milestone birthday, and I want to go all out because I don't know how many more he'll have. It's a huge expense, but to me, it's worth it. Every penny I save is going toward this, and even then, I probably won't have enough saved in time. My partner, however, recently said she wants to go home this year too, even though it's not her turn. I told her I can't afford 2 big trips, but I could just about manage to buy her a ticket and send her alone if I cut back on my own personal spending. She refused, saying she doesn't want to travel alone and insists I come with her. I suspect part of the reason is financial because if she goes alone, she'll stay in her family's cramped home, but if I go, we'll stay in a hotel that I'd be paying for. On top of that, I'd also be expected to cover expenses, including meals out with her friends and family. I don't mind doing this once a year when I planned for it, but this year, all my savings are going toward my dad's birthday. I told her I can't afford both trips, but she insists I have more money than I claim because I save while she doesn't. I told her we could work together to save up for the trip later in the year, but she insists she has to go in the next 2 months. Not enough time to save the required amount. Because the weather in her country gets bad after that. I feel like an ATM rather than a partner at this point. If this were an emergency, I'd find a way, but I don't think I should have to dip into savings or take away from my dad's milestone birthday just because she suddenly decided she is homesick. Am I the asshole for saying no? You don't just feel like an ATM, you are. She spends all her money and when she wants more, you pay. 3 options: walk away, have a very serious talk and rebalance finances, or keep suffering and working. Right now she's on a mission to drain your savings. So she has 3/4 of her income to herself and she wants to spend your money to go home? No. If she can afford to use that money for herself or give it to her family, she can afford her own trip home. Not the asshole. On the title alone, I came here to say yes, however. You have a long-planned trip with a solid reason for it. Your partner though has just decided on her trip on a whim. Your suggestion was fair, albeit I suspect you were entirely correct about why she turned it down. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. But sounds like you're paying for too much. If she has so much money left over, she can pay a fair share at home and finance her own travel. She's using you. Yeah buddy, you aren't the You're just a meal ticket for a sugar baby. It's your year, your father's milestone birthday, and that is that. Especially with the insistence about when and how to travel. If it were me, I'd be tempted to declare no more subsidized travel for her, period. You're not paying for her to travel with you to your destinations and you're not paying for her travel to her destinations. Everything shared is 50-50 split. Tickets, hotels, meals and entertainment. She's gotten a bit too comfortable with you being the primary provider. Am I the asshole for making other plans after my friends couldn't decide where to go out to eat? My friends mentioned last week how they wanted to go out to eat, so we scheduled to go tonight. I texted them this morning to confirm if that's the plan and where we were going. They couldn't agree, so my girlfriend invited me to go out with her family and I agreed. 2 hours later my friends finally agreed on a restaurant, but by then I already told my girlfriend that I will go out with her family. My friends are mad at me and are telling me to ditch her. Am I the asshole for refusing to ditch her? Info: are your friends usually flaky? Or do they usually follow through, even if it's a bit messy? 'Cause where you guys were going shouldn't matter too much if it was set you were going to meet tonight. Unless, say, you're vegan and they decide they want to go to a steakhouse or something like that. But, if your friends do often end up canceling plans, I find it more understandable. Edit. Also relevant, they were actively trying to sort out the plans, or it was just sort of radio silence. And if you told them as soon as your girlfriend invited you, or if you just let them keep planning while you had already decided not to go. At least makes a difference to me, haha. You are the asshole. Sounds like you had plans, just had to finalize the details. Also, did you propose a place to eat or wait for them to come up with ideas? I can't even count the number of times my friends and I set a date for something then iron out the plans later, even if it's the same day. Sometimes we wait to see what kind of cuisine or vibe we'd be in the mood for. You couldn't text, my girlfriend's family is making reservations and wants to know if I'm in. If we don't finalize a restaurant by noon, then I'm going to go out with them instead. They probably didn't realize there was any urgency. You're not refusing to bail on your girlfriend. In this scenario, you're bailing on your friends for your girlfriend. I texted them this morning. 2 hours later. How much notice do you need about where you're going to eat, bro? It doesn't sound like their lack of immediate agreement had any impact on when y'all would have met up to eat. I don't see why you needed to know where to go so early. They were clearly discussing where to go, so it's not like there was any confusion about whether the meetup was still on or anything. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. You could have given them a heads up. By the way, aren't you one of the friends who couldn't suggest a place too? Not enough info, but my gut is telling me everyone sucks here with what's in the post. Did they say we'll decide in a few hours or anything to let you know they were deciding? I'd probably do the same, NGL, but IDK just seems a bit IDK. Interesting. That you immediately make plans with your GF. Clearly you're not opposed to still doing something since you're going with her. You are the asshole. Your friends were actively deciding where to go after you said you would go. Did you contribute to the restaurant suggestions? Or do you usually expect them to figure everything out on their own and then you just show up and reap the benefits? And then you bailed? That's obviously rude.